Welcome to Try This at Home. I'm Cliff Bumgardner.
And I am still Harrison Stewart.
Our myths this week are killer brace position and cell phone versus drunk driving. This episode originally aired on January 26th, 2005. It was produced, new name alert, by Alice Dallow. Alice Dallow is a name that we have seen in the credits before, I think most often as an associate producer, but this is the first time I've seen her listed as a full-fledged producer. So congratulations on the promotion, Alice.
Yeah, well done.
And
well done. Hope to see more of you, kid.
It was written by another new name, at least for us, Mike Welsh. Have not seen that name anywhere in the credits before, but excited to see him mentioned here and get some fresh blood on the show. Which is a nice transition I totally didn't plan into this episode, of course, features the very first appearance, the myth-busting debut of Grant Imahara. We've made it to the Grant era. At long last, that is...
We made it.
No reason to bury the lead. That is the headline of this episode. We will talk about Grant's first appearance, but a little bit about Grant to properly introduce him onto the show. Grant Imahara was an electrical engineer, a roboticist, and special effects artist who worked at Industrial Light and Magic on movies like AI, Galaxy Quest, and The Lost World Jurassic Park. How cool is that? He was the last person to join the build team, but would go on to appear in more than 200 episodes of Mythbusters. After his time on the show,
they got it.
Yeah,
they got the formula down, is what you're saying.
Oh, I think so. I think we see that in this episode. After his time on Mythbusters came to an end, he joined Carrie and Tori on Netflix's The White Rabbit Project, which I think I've talked about before. It's a great show if you haven't seen it. And he even appeared, this is something I didn't know until I was researching for this episode, he appeared as an actor on the TV series Star Trek Continues as Lieutenant Sulu.
What?
I know! I had no idea. How cool is that?
I'm going to have to track that down now. Absolutely, I'm going to track that down.
This is a monumental moment in the history of the show. Sadly, of course, we do have to say Grant passed away in 2020. But we didn't want to let this monumentous first appearance go by without doing something special to honor his contributions to the show. So this Friday, really excited to announce this, we are going to be remembering Grant with his longtime friend and colleague, Fon Davis. Come back on Friday for a special bonus episode. We'll talk about Fon's memories of Grant, how Grant got on Mythbusters, the work that he did after the show in Fon's shop, and what Fon and others are doing to carry on Grant's legacy through the Grant Imahara STEAM Foundation and how you can get involved. I am so excited. We taped this interview months ago because we weren't entirely sure when Grant's first appearance actually was. It was somewhat disputed on the record, which I'm sure we'll get into. And it's one of my favorite conversations we've ever had for the podcast. So grateful to Fon for coming on and sharing his memories of just how awesome Grant was. And come back on Friday. Do not miss that. But
Never. And I'm not in the interview, so it's good. It's actually really good. Very professional.
We did talk about that going into the interview. We're like, is this the right tone for both of us to be here?
Oh no. Okay. You know what? Love it. Little behind the curtains here.
Yeah.
Cliff texted me, kind of feeling it out and being like, this might be easier as like a one-on-one, and I was like, oh, thank God. like I was right about to reach out to him and be like, it's not that I don't want to do this, you're the guy for this.
Well,
and
I'm really happy to say the conversation as it came out is not a downer in the slightest. It is not. It is truly a celebration of life for Grant and what he meant to the show. And I think I say this in the interview, but I'll say it here. Growing up, my two heroes on Mythbusters were Adam Savage and Grant Imahara. And so maybe this is a nice transition into overall thoughts. Man, does it feel good to be in the Grant era. I should say we're going to miss Scotty. We talked about it last week. We gave her a send-off. She was a phenomenal part of the show. Don't want to downplay that at all. But
Not at all.
watching this episode, the show is here. We have fully arrived, and it is incredible that his first episode is that good.
It is rare to see a new player introduced in anything that just immediately puts such a stamp on the thing, such a unique stamp.
I know
that it's hard to imagine it without them.
Yeah.
But that is the case with this. I mean, just comes out of the gate absolutely swinging. This was a phenomenal episode. And I know I've mentioned this before. I am particularly fond of episodes that give me information that I can like take into my day-to-day life.
Yeah.
And this one arguably had both of the myths were things that I was like, okay,
absolutely.
Sweet. This is great information.
You know, it's funny, something you said there put this thought in my brain of like Grant on Mythbusters is one of those things. And we've had this actually multiple times throughout the show, going back to when it was just Adam and Jamie, where as the show keeps leveling up, there's these things that you don't know they're missing until they're there. And like, that's what Grant was on the show. Watching it with the build team previously, even going back to just Adam and Jamie flying solo, I never felt like, they really need to punch this up. They really need to, like, these guys aren't very good. Never felt that for a second. And then Grant, so you don't think there's a hole. You're like, how can this, where would somebody fit? And then Grant shows up, man, and his expertise, his personality, the way that he interacts with everyone else. Like, even in this first episode, his interactions with people, you see relationships and like differences between him and Adam, him and Jamie, him and the rest, and Carrie and Tori. Like, it's amazing how quickly we have been watching now. God, what are we, 30 plus episodes into the show? And we've been like, oh, it's slowly getting there. It's slowly. This wasn't slow at all. This was just like Grant shows up. He literally drops science and is an incredible part of the show.
I mean, right off the bat, it's one of the more impressive introductions I think I've ever seen. Even though, Cliff, did they introduce him?
So that's the thing. I think we have made it very clear how good Grant is in this episode and how much we love him on the show, which is a good thing. Because his actual introduction is horrible.
Yeah.
There isn't one.
It's non-existent. Non-existent.
They never. I made a note, and I think I'm right about this. I did not go back over to double check me, but I'm double check this. But I am pretty sure he doesn't even talk until over 13 minutes into the show. And I don't remember hearing his name until over 30 minutes into the show.
In fact, I was fairly convinced halfway through the episode that his presence was not going to be acknowledged.
Yeah.
That it would be the kind of thing that he was a guy that you would see on camera sometimes, the same way as like there are lots of crew members.
Well, like when Carrie was in the background in the pilots, she was just kind of there.
Yes. Yes. She was always a part of it, but she wasn't a named player.
Right.
And then there no last name given either.
Nope.
They're just like whiz kid extraordinaire Grant.
Yeah.
All right, he's a part of this.
The first time he's referred to as Mr. Fix-It.
That's it.
Which,
Mr.
I'm sorry,
Fix-It.
that is a nickname that is earned over time. That is a nickname that comes... Now, behind the scenes, absolutely. But on the show, we don't know him as Mr. We don't know him as Mr. anything. We don't even know him as Mr. Imahara yet.
No, and we still don't by the end of the episode.
It's
You gotta go to the credits for that.
So I should say, I mentioned earlier that his first appearance is somewhat disputed on the show. And by that, what I mean is, in my research, I found that apparently his first actual appearance, period, on the show was on some sort of like clip show, explosion specials or Buster special or something like that.
A Buster special.
I think they did a Buster special that involved the rebuilding of Buster as well. And I get, so that is not on Max. That is not in the run of the show that we have. It was not a quote unquote official episode. It was like a bonus episode of the show. So I didn't really count that. I don't know if in that episode he is introduced. We don't have access to that. I haven't seen it. But this is the weekly show. I mean, like in real time, it would have been last Friday. The show came out on Fridays, I believe, at this point. There was somebody else. That was Scotty. Now there's a new guy. No introduction. Nope. Just crazy.
No introduction. No exit. No like send off for Scotty. It's just, well, you know Mr. Fix-It, don't you? Of course you do. I do have a theory on this.
Ooh.
I think, because yes, it's a very impressive first showing, but this was written with hindsight. You know what I mean? Like this really feels like most of the narration was written after they had gotten some of these episodes down and they knew how integral he was already tracking to be.
Yeah. Yeah. And so maybe this was aired out of order or something like that.
Or something like that.
It'll be interesting to see if in another couple of episodes, if all of a sudden, they say, and the new Mythbuster, Grant Imahara, and they do an introduction, then maybe we'll have our answer.
Something.
Well, to build on that, he does have the line when they're doing the drop and everybody's actually on the sled for the airplane myth. He has the thing about, I would be up there, but insurance won't let me do it. I wonder if he was either because he was a new employee or he wasn't a fully fledged employee yet. Maybe they were trying him out at that point, and it's why he wouldn't have yet been covered by the show. I don't know. That's just a theory, but that did come to mind because of what it said. Because I think you're right. I don't. It's hard for me to believe that they ever intended this to be an introduction because it just isn't one.
Because they go all in on him immediately, which, I mean, obviously that panned out for them, like that worked quite well, but there's such a knowingness to it.
Yeah, there really
is. Is that a word?
Knowingness?
Probably not.
We'll find out.
Probably not.
Leave a 4-star
Let us know
review.
when you're 4-star. You beat me to it.
Myth 1. Killer brace position. I love this myth. I love this.
Yeah.
So
I love that they've only done this a few times, but like this is more of a conspiracy theory.
Well,
you know what I mean?
And I'm gonna get to that. I have some thoughts on that. But just to set this up, the question here is the airplane brace position actually designed to kill you? The question being, there is a brace position that is on the little airplane card, on the safety card in the back of your seat that shows you in the event of a landing how to brace yourself on the seat in front of you. And that's supposed to save your life. But the theory here is that actually it is designed to kill you faster, to snap your neck immediately on impact because it is cheaper for the airline to pay out an accidental death suit or a wrongful death suit than it is to pay you over the course of your life for rehab. And this is where the conspiracy comes in that you're talking about. And I just got to say, I'm not like a Bigfoot guy. We've talked about that. We talked about Magic Bullet, not my thing. This is the kind of conspiracy I can get behind. Insurance fraud? Absolutely, I believe that might happen.
All day long. This is slightly darker than most insurance fraud conspiracies that I've heard about. This though is a wonderful example to me of like the ridiculous amount of assumptions that are required to believe something like this, because there have to be thousands upon thousands of people in on this. And keeping the kibosh on it and making sure no one finds out. The FAA has to sign off on this. That's something that is like never taken into account with this conspiracy, is as just like, airlines and we hate airlines. Okay, I'm with you. So they probably want to kill you. It's like, there's a lot more involved than just individual airlines telling you. Like, this would have to be a globe spanning, just a ridiculously large conspiracy for it to be true.
It does. Yeah.
They take the science of it seriously.
That's what's so great.
Yeah.
That's what's so
Yeah.
great.
Because that's what they can prove.
Yeah.
Or disprove, you know?
And I love that about this myth. I love that this, unlike, last week we had some of the pyramid power stuff and some of that oogie booginess, as Adam called it, where there isn't really a scientific part of the conspiracy to test. To your point,
Right.
we do have that. We have a bona fide scientific question in contained in this myth. And I feel like it's a big step forward on the show that they could tackle something like this, because they even make a joke early on in one of the, like, Adam and Jamie are in the blueprint room segments, and they're like, oh, hey, I guess it's time to crash an entire airplane. We can't do that. But I think we can actually build a rig. And they go and they show that, crazy crash test dummy rig and all the other busters that are hanging out. And the whole time I was like, they can't do that, can they? Yeah. And then they have a really elegant solution to do some pretty advanced testing in the episode. Like, that alone was a big
to do
leap.
it multiple times.
Yes. Yeah, not just a one and done. Like, we saw them, it reminded me a lot of the myth where from last season with the sledgehammer dropping before you hit the water, when Buster dropped off the crane kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because that was similarly about falling and similarly about the damage that it would inflict. And in that one, like, Buster hits, loses a leg, and they're like, oh, shoot, myth's over. Yep. Sorry, guys, pack it in. We can't do this again. This
Can't
one,
do it again.
They have it set up. They have the rig is repeatable. The methodology is repeatable. They can replace Buster's bones. Like, every part of it now, they are just, like, cooking to be able to figure out the science of this. It was so good.
Yeah. And it's also, I guess, the part that was interesting to me, like, I'm not buying into, for reasons that we were talking about earlier, the whole, like, there are tons of people that want you to die. But what interested me is that it is similar to another thing that I've heard before, which is that, And I should preface this by saying I have not looked into this further. I have heard this said by multiple people, but I don't know. It just brought this to mind that one of the reasons why in drunk driving accidents, the drunk driver survives is because they don't brace on impact because they're drunk.
Right. They're loose.
So there was a kernel to this that I was like, I've never thought about the plane impact and bracing and that kind of stuff. But this question is kind of answered by the myth itself, by the methodology. And I mean, that's one of the great Grant talking over certain things is I have been borderline unfair towards the show with how often I've been like, I just want more science. I remember more science.
They heard you were like, we're going to hire
my beer.
Yeah.
Like, I got you.
We got a guy.
I got you. And as I've said before, I'm not a science guy, but I still love it. I still love you explaining to me with all of these terms, which I can go look up later and like look into.
Yeah.
Why this works or doesn't work.
And that is where Grant, when they finally introduce him, which, I mean, not even introduce him, when they finally let him talk.
30-minute, yes.
13 minutes into the show, that is where he starts strutting his stuff. Mm-hmm. So
immediately
they build this rig that they're going to drop from 15 feet in the air because that will give them a similar G-force to if it was to accelerate into a wall or on the mechanical piston like they actually use in the real FAA testing. And they need a way to, obviously we've seen in the past them use like little like accelerometers we've seen these little patches that they have that measure G-forces on the body, but they also need a way to test breaking your neck, to test the tension on someone's neck. And obviously they have the like whatever it is, wood bones, olive wood or whatever bones in Buster, but your neck also has a lot of muscles and tendons and other things. And so they need a way to kind of accurately figure, test for that and figure out what it's going to be. And they just cut to Grant being like, got it. Got it. Worked that up this morning. And the rig that he makes, I don't understand it, but he does, and that's enough for me.
This is a great time to talk about this aspect because this is true. It's not just in the lack of introduction. It seems based on this that like one of his greatest strengths is that like the ideas kind of come out fully formed. I am sure that there is plenty of stuff happening off camera where he's figuring it out and stuff like that. But similarly to how he's just introduced and he's just already Grant, the Grant that we know and love and remember. But like his ideas are just okay. I see how that might be a problem. I got to fix.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, is it going to work? Of course it's going to work. What are you talking about? Like
Even Adam, when
flawless.
When Grant walks through this rig, which the basics of the rig, as I understood it, was he was somehow using electrical resistance on a multimeter to measure the tension that goes into Buster's neck that they make with these springs. Which again, they explain how those two things go together, and this is not a fault of the show. This is a fault of me being a dum-dum. Yes. I did not understand it, but I believe them and I believe in Grant. But even Adam, when Grant shows him this rig and it just works, Adam has this moment of like, whoa. He just kind of looks at Grant.
Well done, kid.
Yeah, he's like, this is a Mythbuster solution all the way through. This is perfect. And I was like, no. This is a Mythbuster solution going forward. We've seen you screw this up a whole lot. Like, now this is a Mythbuster solution because Grant showed up. But previously, this would not have been a Mythbuster solution at all.
Right. Because, I mean, there's not like a ton of different ways that he tried it. And that one didn't really work, but we learned something. We'll take it into the next one. No.
It just seems
he comes up with it. He executes it. It works
and
flawlessly.
That goes to what I said earlier about not knowing that something was missing until it was there. Grant's skill set is very particular to something that we haven't previously had on the show, which is an electrical engineer. His ability, and later we'll see this with like robots and stuff that he builds, which, Jamie's done a good bit of as well. They competed against each other on BattleBots, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
But with, it's like Grant just has a different toolbox to pull from everybody else. You have a lot of like sculptors and, but Carrie, Tori, and Adam all seem to kind of come out of that area of special effects, of the sculpting and the very effects heavy work. And Grant he's an engineer. He's the one, I think Adam has said before on interviews that the difference between Grant was he was the only one who had a degree in the crap that they were doing. The rest of them were all, self-taught special effects guys who knew enough to make it look right on camera, but that doesn't mean that it was actually a functioning thing in real life.
Yeah.
No, Grant was an engineer. He made things to function in the real world. And just
Grant has a degree in killing Buster.
Exactly. He can do it so effectively.
So good.
And so having that skill set, we immediately see it in this episode. He just pulls out this whole, other bag of tricks, and it's brilliant. And it adds a level of scientific specificity to the show that, like you said, it's the thing we've been waiting for and gone like, I remember this show being a lot more sciencey. Turns out it was Grant that we were waiting for all along.
Yeah. But like the marriage of the amazing visuals, because like, I don't know about you, it was giving me anxiety watching that thing drop.
Oh my God.
And I know that it's just 15 feet, but there's something about something like a thing that large and, multiple seats on it. I think that there were 6 seats in total, 2 rows of 3. It's a great visual.
Yeah.
And on top of that, you can take me aside and be like, okay, here's the science behind what we're showing you. It's always looked astounding. That's never, ever, ever been a weakness of this show. Even from the pilots.
Yeah.
Right? It's looked amazing. But now we also have this amazing guy who can explain it in terms that us dum-dums can understand.
Totally.
It's a perfect marriage.
And talking about that anxiety, I felt that too. And we've talked about this numerous times on the show, but this test proves once and for all what we have said, that nothing is more violent than falling.
I mean,
it is so visceral through the screen every time they drop this thing. They said at one point that when they dropped it, and again, it was just 15 feet, that it delivered 21 G's of force to the frame. That is just, you don't think about 15 feet. I think that's something that, like, and I believe this is actually later tested on the show, in fact, but Hollywood movies, that is a thing they have really ruined, is our like perspective of how dangerous a fall is, because you see it all the time, you know? And hopefully most of us never fall like that, so we don't really have a good reference frame for it. And when you see it like this, God, man, it's crazy how violent and how much just pure force there is. And every time they drop this thing, legs are breaking off.
That's what I was gonna say.
The seats are breaking.
Comes flying at the camera.
Like every time, it's like a consistent thing. We're like, "Yep, broke his femur again."
Yep,
femur
right there. You can live without that, right? It's fine.
Yeah,
it's fine.
It's just wild. They do a couple of tests here and thought it was cool how they broke this down. Where the first test is just economy seating, which is how close the seats are together, and they test that impact. And when they test the brace position, the very first time, Buster gets 20 G's less impact to his head than when he was unbraced.
Yeah.
So right off the bat, this thing gets busted. I mean, it's busted straight out of the gate, because the brace. And actually, to your point about being able to use this in your everyday life, it made me feel a lot better about the brace position. Like, wow, that is there's actually something that simple that can be that effective is a pretty amazing result.
Yeah. And again, they explain why. It's like it's transferring force to like the seat in front of you. Yep. And I was like, hey, sure. You showed me all the readings. You know, I take your word for it. And I couldn't stop. This is also around the same time that they brought up and of course it's Jamie that knows this, but like, oh yeah, it's not the crash that kills you.
Yep.
You burn to death.
Yep.
Jamie.
Thanks, Jamie. We're all having a good time. We're all having a.
Hey, I didn't have enough nightmares to worry about. I thank you.
I wanted to go back and be like, Jamie, I know you're 20 years in the past when airline crashes seem uncommon, but I'm living in 2025 when planes regularly seem to fall out of the sky for no apparent reason whatsoever. Yeah. Maybe don't keep me up at night. Thanks, bud.
It was a relevant point.
I'm
glad he said it, but I haven't been able to stop thinking about it.
Yeah. One of the really terrifying things was when they showed the first class seats and having nothing in front of you. And the actual impact to the body and the head, they say, is less, and there's less whiplash because there's no room in front of you, except the Buster just goes over his seatbelt and smacks his head on the floor, which I feel pretty good about my cheap seats now. Can't lie.
I agree with that. Although I want me one of them backwards seats, if I'm being honest.
No, that was really bad. Not too much on the whiplash, but in every other way, the flight attendants have it awful.
That was also I love that they like cut to some guy from like the 40s. It's like, let's see how fast I can go backwards. Oh wow, that's real fast. Yeah. I can take more J-force this way. Like that was there's something deeply funny to me about seeing someone go backwards real fast.
Yeah.
Because it's just not supposed to happen. And I think your brain inherently knows that. Yeah. Like there's this as I know Cliff knows, but for the listener, I love roller coasters. I rode a relatively new one recently, and there is a part in it where you start going backwards and then you hit a boost, so you're going backwards super duper fast. And it was the most frightened I like genuinely.
Yeah.
It's that animalistic fear where you're like, I'm having fun. I'm not having fun anymore. This is too fast. I shouldn't be going backwards this fast.
Well, there's no practical application for that, right? You know what I mean? Like, there's no part in normal human life where you would go backwards really quickly. So I
Not
guess
that fast.
nothing in you is programmed to deal with that.
That's such
It's
a
just
good
like,
point.
this is not in the encoding.
such a good point.
Nobody,
Right.
nobody programmed me for this. What the hell is going on?
Right. Danger, new experience
Immediate
happening.
danger.
Yeah.
Yeah. The flight
But
attendant was terrible, and they brought in an FAA expert that they had talked to elsewhere in the episode about how rear-facing seats are actually extremely safe, but he makes another wonderfully morbid point that yes, but then if the plane is crashing forward, there could be more debris.
They're the first to go.
Yeah, they're the first to go, and there's more debris and stuff coming at your face. So maybe we don't do that.
Maybe. I don't know.
I could not believe
It would be kind of fun though if airplanes had, like, trains have this where, and I always sit on the backwards seats on trains. I don't know why. I like it. That would be kind of fun if you had like little facing chairs on planes. Like, I do think I would like that, except for takeoff. I bet that would suck backwards.
that would really suck going backwards. Yeah, I think I did think about my motion sickness would be particularly bad backwards as well. And there's a lot of people who don't get normally motion sick, but with the force of a plane, they do. And I wonder if that would just magnify it times 10. You know, I know my wife is very
imagine it
motion
would.
sick, and like backwards is real bad. So I can't imagine that would be good. I remember, so we didn't really talk about this at the top. I did remember this episode, and I did remember that they actually get on the sled and do it themselves, and I still couldn't believe it. I still could not believe that they actually were allowed in the first place to do this and chose to do it after everything they had just seen. I'm glad. It's some great TV, but wow, I was surprised.
Okay, I really want to home in on the allowed part.
Yeah.
This, I don't know. This strongly felt to me like a, hey, y'all should do this kind of moment.
Oh.
Because there was just a hesitancy in everyone.
Yeah.
And there was, and okay, we should definitely say, for the final test where they're on it, they lowered it to 5 feet.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just get that out of the way. They're not dropping the three of it's Adam, Carrie, and
Tori.
It's not and Tori. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's not. Tori had like 2 lines in this episode.
Yeah,
Did
he's
you
really
notice
not
that?
in this episode very much.
Yeah, but he had the funniest moment where he's like, "Go ahead and do it before I change my mind."
Yeah.
That was the moment that I was like, "Was this your suggestion?"
And
Because it doesn't feel like
they gave Grant the pull cord, which was a great decision. It's like, let's let the new guy kill us all.
Let's let the guy that we can pin all of this on.
Yep.
If it goes sideways, let's let him do it. Yeah, absolutely. and then the Carrie is like, I had just promised my parents that I wouldn't do anything stupid and dangerous again. Which now I'm dying to know what the first one was that they were like, hey,
Oh, that's a good
sweetheart,
question.
can you not? Because she specifically said again in a way that really to me implied that there had been a prior conversation about a particular episode or several episodes that's like, ooh, you're in danger. You might want to move.
Yeah, I'm actually looking back at the list of Build Team episodes to see if there's one we've seen so far that might have
jumps out.
produced. It also, we should also take into account, Carrie just seems like someone who that could have been from like her teenage years. Like
You know
she
what?
just does dangerous
You know
stuff,
what?
Mythbusters or none. So it may not even be specific to the show. I think
That's
we
a
can
good point.
take that into
That's
account.
a really good point. And so you have to the right and left, those are how they're reacting. Adam's game.
Oh, yeah.
Adam's game, dude. All day long. Doesn't care. Do it. Drop me. Probably wanted to do it from 15 feet.
Well,
it was talked down to 5.
And to your question about were they made to do this or whose idea it was, it would not surprise me if it was Adam's. Adam has been the most gung-ho.
It would be more surprising to me if it was someone besides him. That's what would be surprising.
He has been the most gung-ho through the whole show. It's just like, nah, drop me, do this. I'll do it. I'll put my body on the line. I'll just fully jump into this no matter what. So it does not surprise me that he was into it. And this crash.
What a moment of tension.
Even from 5 feet, man. I mean, they get their legs all banged up on the seats.
Yeah.
Adam's glasses get broken because he smacks the seat in front of him.
Good and broken.
Yeah, like seriously.
Not the first time this has happened on the show, but like
not by a long shot.
This was worse than last time.
I like to believe that he just has
times.
a bucket of those black frame glasses in his office, and he's like, it happened again. Throws another pair.
I like if it's like a suitcase and he carries it with him and he just opens it up and replaces them like immediately.
That's something Adam could build. Oh, he would love
Yes,
that. That's a good tested project.
Yes, it is.
Adam, get on that. That'd be awesome. Yeah, I mean, the crazy that they actually did this, and I feel like this is probably. I don't know. We're still very early in the show for me to say this.
This is one of the more dangerous. Is that where you're going?
No, I was going to go with it may be one of the last times we see something like this, because as the show goes on, I do know there's a myth I'm thinking of in particular where I believe at the last minute insurance won't let Adam do it and Tori has to do it. Which is also kind of, I know, sort of shows you the pecking order.
Oh, hey, that's better. Yeah.
You're disposable. Totally you get up there.
God, come on. Insurance?
Yeah.
Come on, guys.
Come on. They're like, we know the build team is. Come on. We know. But, I mean, as we said, this one was busted straight out of the gate, but I loved this myth. Great introduction to Grant. Awesome to see him on the show. We won't see him in the next myth at all.
No,
so
but it is. I mean, he was integral to this one. This is one of the top ones for me. Of like, this is indisputable.
Yeah,
like it would be stupid for someone to write in about this one and question the methodology. Like it is so robust that it's like this is busted as hell. This could not be more busted.
They need a tier above busted. It's like obliterated, smithereened,
destroyed.
Thank you for flying Mythbust Air, and on behalf of our San Francisco-based flight crew, Tori, Carrie, and Adam, we know you have a choice of airlines, and we're glad you chose us.
Myth 2, cell phone versus drunk driving. Is it as dangerous to drive while talking on the phone as while driving drunk?
How quaint was this to watch 20 years on? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where they're like, wow, look at how distracted this person is by this device that can only do calls. And that's the biggest thing that we're going to have to worry about with these devices. Like, that's it.
You have to worry about your friend calling and asking you a math problem.
Oh, no.
It's like, no, you can play Wordle on your phone, or you could do Sudoku on your phone while driving. You don't need somebody to call you and ask you this stuff. You can just do it now.
Oh, which is what makes the result of this one even more terrifying.
Yeah.
But
it's funny you bring that up about, the quaintness of it, because this kind of sent me down a little bit of a rabbit hole, which was
a research hole?
A little bit of a research hole.
Ooh.
Where I got to thinking about, okay, this is 2005. I know that cell phones are not new in 2005.
Right.
But I got to thinking about how new were these types of cell phones, where it is a,
like a flip phone?
handheld flip phone, and also mass available, right?
Yeah.
And so
from
the research that I found, the first handheld mobile phone was produced in 1973, which, obviously not surprising. But it wasn't until the late 90s and early 2000s that coverage became good enough and phones became cheap enough for them to be widely used. So, relatively speaking, it was kind of recent at the time. So it is funny to watch this and have this be a new, kind of a new area of exploration of, ooh, how dangerous are these things that we, have in our car? And we've seen that before on the show with the gas station myth and things like that, where they were still mysterious enough that there was some sort of question about it. I feel like now this wouldn't be a question at all. Like we all pretty much have this idea, even though we do it anyway. But yeah, it was just interesting to think about the time and the context when this actually came out for phones and what a big question this would have been at the time. I remember this one. This is one I remember from like when it aired. I remember this being such an interesting. It's always interesting when you have, I think, something. Drunk driving is such a reference point. It's such a like universally like this is dangerous. Like Darth Vader's the bad guy. Drunk driving is dangerous. Like you have these comparisons, that we just understand. So that like stuck in my brain forever of, oh wow, if it's as dangerous as drunk driving, that's really bad. And I've remembered this ever since. So like this one does hit hard.
Yeah. It's also just kind of wild to me. Like, I guess I don't think about this one because it doesn't have to worry about Wordle and, instant texts, and that can be however long you want, and checking Instagram and, a whole litany of things. It can really, really, really focus on just the speaking part of it.
Yeah.
And that's not even really because of all the rest of it. That's something I don't think about that often.
Yeah.
That's never the thing that I'm pointing when I'm thinking about people being on their phone and it being super dangerous. I'm mostly thinking of anything but just talking on it. So I really like that they nailed that down. That is what they were focusing on. Because I'll admit it, I forget.
Yeah.
I forget all the time.
Yeah, it's about like your attention bandwidth, basically, right? Like how much brain are you actually committing to one task or another? And like the testing on this isn't a critique so much as it is just kind of a note to make, is like the test that they put them through on the phone is extreme. Like both the driving and the phone and what the questions they're asking them on the phone are far more extreme than you would encounter in day-to-day life.
Because they put Jamie in charge of distracting them on the phone.
Again,
and let me tell you, he understood the assignment.
And he did it brilliantly. Yeah, his questions, I wrote down a couple of them. Things like, give me 5 things that are in the interior of your car, repeat the sentence back to me, and then says something like really complicated. There was a thing about there was a picture of a diamond and a circle and and Jamie's like, if this is next to this, and they're like IQ test kind of questions.
Yes.
It was incredible. Like I was like,
but you can't even read them.
No.
You can't even, you just have to be listening super hard.
Both the questions and the driving course, it was like, I'd have a hard time doing this sober and paying attention.
Absolutely.
This would be exceedingly difficult to do. But to Carrie and Adam's credit, like the control test, when there's nothing, they're not on the phone, they do pass the course and do pretty well in the phone test. So it's like it was calibrated to their intelligence, just not to mine.
Yeah. Well, and the driving instructor is also like a total hard ass.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, like I don't think he would have just passed them. No, like,
he's taking it
willy-nilly.
Way more seriously than they are. Where he's just like, oh well, you just wiped out a cone there. That cone had a family.
Have
you thought about?
I noticed that.
That cone had children who are not going to see it tonight.
A family. Have you really considered the fact that 3 baby cones are going to have to live the rest of their life without a cone? Father, mother, have you contemplated the consequences of your actions? I don't think you have.
I did love the moment when, and I want to talk about how the actual drinking process on this was fascinating to me. But to jump ahead briefly, when Carrie is drunk and she's already done this test twice, and then she looks at the instructor and is like, wait, you're going to be in the car?
Yes.
And he's like, I mean, that's sort of why I'm here. Like, he doesn't break. He's just like, yes, that is That is the task I have taken in my life.
Okay. Who was in the car?
Yeah.
Did you? Because you couldn't. There was someone in the back seat, but I couldn't really see who it was.
Sound operator, I think.
Okay.
I think that was a sound operator in the backseat.
Very mean to put them through that, but okay.
I know. Especially, this is not terribly long after. Actually, you were out for this episode. This was in the time when you were off. They did a remote control car for a myth, and Adam was in it, and they lost control and drove it through a fence with Adam in the car. So then the crew would have watched that. So it's like, I know that was remote control, but now you're going to put me in a car with Adam and he's drunk? Like, seriously?
Bring it on.
Yeah, let's do this.
I guess. Yeah.
So 2 points I wanted to make. First,
Okay.
this is a really kind of, I feel like sort of a key moment in the show, in that it's the beginning of the controlled course driving tests, which becomes a huge thing on the show. They become, over the course of the show, Adam has talked about this in particular, really skilled professional stunt drivers, because they get a lot of training over the decade plus of the show in doing this kind of thing. And we just hadn't really seen that before. So it was a nice little kind of mini achievement unlocked that I wanted to call out. The other thing was, I know that you're not a man of the drink these days, but if you had to get drunk in a parking lot for work,
right, that would be very mean. That would be incredibly cruel.
That would be incredibly
to
cruel.
make a recovering alcoholic drink in a parking lot.
I'm just saying theoretically in the universe.
No, I know, but then I thought about they're just. It's like, guys, but I have a problem. Yeah, that's why it's
Also-
funny, dog. That's why it's hilarious.
Also, what would be the job? What's the job? Where it's like, we've got to force this recovering alcoholic to get drunk in the sun in a parking lot. That's what we're doing.
We simply must. It's for the fans. Why not?
My question was going to be, though,
Maybe it's going to be this job. Who knows?
if you had to do it, would a bottle of wine be on your list of ways to get that job done? Thankfully, they didn't seem to go there. Cooler heads prevailed. But when the first
Or
time,
for the liquor.
yes,
Or for the liquor.
they cut
they
to
poured
liquor
a shot.
and a bottle of wine, and I was like, oh my God. They already said they didn't eat the night before, so they're on an empty stomach. It's hot in a parking lot. They wisely go with chilled beer as the way to actually get this done in the end. But I cannot imagine being wine drunk at work in a parking lot and having to drive a car. That is
And
just
then
one of the
having
most
to
miserable.
perform.
Yes.
Having to perform in front of a camera and be interesting and funny and somewhat together and not make just funny enough, but not make a total fool of yourself.
Yes.
I mean,
And, well, on that note, this was different than what we saw previously with the Beat the Breathalyzer test, where
Good point.
they were in a police station and they could get as drunk as they wanted to, which is
Yes.
pretty fun. For this one, it was slightly, I completely understand it. I'm not saying that they should have gotten completely loaded and driven a car, but it was like slightly like, oh, they can't actually go over the legal limit. So they're going to have to get as close to it as possible,
Yes.
so they were not as comedically drunk as you might expect them to be, you know, in something like this, but they were certainly legally impaired. We're very close to it.
True. That is true. But what and like in the whole lead up to this, I was like, how can they do this?
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
they've done some legally questionable things before, but like this is, what are you talking about? Everyone, like you were saying earlier, like everyone knows this is way illegal and bad.
Yeah.
But I came fully around to that because what this shows is that even when you're under the limit, you just shouldn't. You just shouldn't.
Great
under any
point.
circumstances. Under any circumstances. They had, and again, it was hot. They hadn't eaten. I'm sure that exacerbated things. But this was such a good way of showing that, like, look at the effect it has even when you are blowing under the limit.
Yeah.
You know, it's just
That's
never
great.
do it.
That's a
never,
great
ever,
point.
ever do it.
And it's into that thing we've seen in the past of like a little bit of a public service announcement that's worked into
Yeah.
the show. You know,
Yep.
a little bit
Yep.
of that. We give you some meaning with the silliness at the same time
Mm-hmm.
because you're right. Like they fail both on the cell phone and in the drunk driving, and they fail in different ways, but to about the same degree. They miss half,
Yeah.
I think they said, of the obstacles of you know the pieces of the test that were set up. They miss about half of them in both. So yeah, even being only having had beer,
Yeah.
which how many people have, you know, on a hot day or tailgating or whatever, had a couple of beers, like in a very similar circumstance, they
Yeah.
were not able to get through the test cleanly or even close to it. You know, so yeah, it's a hell of an illustration of just how dangerous this thing is. And again, the comparison makes this so scary. Like, it's a great
Agreed.
point about driving drunk. It's an even better point about not driving with a cell phone. You know, because it's like if it's that similar, if it's that
comparable.
close,
Exactly.
it's nuts. I did like at the end, Adam makes a good point about the one difference is you can put a phone down. You can choose not to. If something breaks your attention or something's going on, you can't snap your fingers and become sober. So
Yeah.
I do think that is a really fair, like, contextual point, but it doesn't, to me, it didn't change the core message of this at all.
No, not at all. Because, I mean, as much as we were clowning on the instructor earlier, I think that man has a healthy fear of vehicles.
Yeah.
They're so much more dangerous than we give them credit for. And I won't speak for anyone else, but for me, for a large portion of my life, subconsciously, it's like I viewed cars on as if they were on rails. You know, like this is something that cannot happen. It cannot go like way sideways, and it can if you're sober and fully locked in. In fact, we have spoken about the incidents on this very show about, like, I was just just doing my driving perfectly fair game, and then someone comes crashing into me. Like, just don't add anything to that danger equation.
Yeah.
We all have to make the calculus. I get it. It is a necessary risk. Don't add to the risk.
Yeah.
Is the bottom line.
Yeah.
In any way. In any way.
Yeah, it's a great thing that this show does is showing you the danger in an accessible way, because it's a fun, funny, silly, you know, show, but in a memorable way to
big time.
leave you with those kind of things and you know, have something to carry on. But this one was confirmed. It is as dangerous, and they also cited other tests that have been done that showed the same thing. I honestly wonder if tested now, to your point about smartphones, if it would be, you know, even more dangerous because of the looking at a screen and not even looking at least. I mean, if you're impaired, ostensibly you're still trying to drive, but if you're distracted by a screen, you may not even be anywhere close.
Can you imagine if Jamie sent you a text with these, like, mind games, like these riddles?
Like mind game, wine bottle emoji,
Yes.
sunshine emoji.
Sunshine, poop emoji. Got to. Gotta always throw in a poop emoji.
Gotta.
Come on. Come on.
But yeah, that one was confirmed. So just a great episode all the way through. Left me so excited for what we have ahead. We are just beginning one of the greatest. I mean, the most of the rest of the show is ahead of us with Grant as one of the primary voices and characters, and I can't wait.
Last thought, I hope we stay in this 2 myth per episode streak.
Yeah.
I don't think we do, if memory serves, and mine doesn't. I really, like, this is 2 in a row that it was just 2 clean myths that carried fully the entire episode. Like, I was never like, I'm bored or tired of this. I understand it's riskier because if you have a single dud, that's half of the episode.
Yeah.
But it just allows them to get into the nitty gritty, to try multiple things, to show more, talk about it, analyze it more. Do things like bring in the fact that they looked up that there have been other studies done
Yeah.
on drunk driving versus texting. So, or calling on the cell phone.
Versus texting.
I already can't even. I'm like, what are you talking about? There was a time before texting? I
That
don't
could be
believe that.
now. That could be an interesting way to revisit the myth if they ever do it, in years later, because they weren't that far from. I mean, the show was definitely out in the era of texting, so maybe we'll see some version of that come back. Because I would love to see a more modern, version of that applied to the way that technology increased to take more of our attention at every single turn.
That's what we needed.
And we appreciate you giving some of it to us.
Oh, look at you.
Be sure to come back this Friday for our awesome interview with Fon Davis. We'll be talking again about Grant and his contributions to Mythbusters, how he came to the show. I'm so excited for everyone to hear that. Very appreciative of Fon's time. And we will also have ways that you can get involved with the Grant Imahara Steam Foundation and the really awesome work that they are doing. So be sure to come back this Friday and for that bonus episode. And then next week, we'll be back with another recap. And I'm so excited. It is an episode that is forever etched in my memory. It is Bulletproof Water.
Ooh.
There are
even I remember this one.
Yeah, there's specific images from that episode etched in my brain. And I'm very excited too, because I'm pretty sure that's a solo Adam and Jamie myth. I don't remember what the build team myth is, and we have we have Grant. So very excited. That episode could be. I'm calling now. It could be a new top tier. We will find out. We hope that you guys will come back next week for that. And in the meantime, watch that episode wherever you find it. There's places out there online. While you're surfing around, please be sure to give us a rating and review wherever you listen to the show. It helps people find us. Yeah, 4 stars. Well, as always, we will take it. And we appreciate you guys listening. We're so excited for more of the show coming soon. And until then, thanks for listening.
Bye-bye, bubbies.
Try This at Home is produced by Slugline Media. The show is written, hosted, edited, and shot onto the internet by Cliff Bumgardner and Harrison Stewart. Our music is by the mysterious Breakmaster Cylinder. You can follow the show on Instagram @TryThisPod or email us trythisathomepod@gmail.com.